Enmeshment is one of those family dynamics that makes it very hard for people to see themselves as their own individual. When you grow up in a home where individualism is seen as a threat or as a gateway to hell, it's extremely hard to advocate for yourself or to even understand you should. When you grow up in a high control white man's religion, also known as Christianity, you understand that everything is mapped out for you. Every situation, most situations, there is a right answer and a wrong answer. There's usually no gray area. And if there is a rarity where there is a gray area, depending on what denomination or group of people you're in, they always have a right answer and a wrong answer. Even if there's nothing in the Bible that says what is right or wrong about it, they will come up with a stance. Which is why abortion is one of those subjects. It makes me laugh because nowhere in the Bible does it ever condemn abortion anywhere. And yet Christians will die on the mountain of pro-life. Abortion has been around in every civilization, every country, every group of people have had abortion techniques. Abortion is healthcare, abortion is necessary. But just because something is available and should be accessible to everyone doesn't mean everyone is going to use it. And I think everyone has a right to have access and privilege to decide what kind of life they want. But Christians do not see it that way. The majority of Christians in North America view abortion as a sin, even though nowhere in the Bible does it say it's a sin. It does say that children are a blessing, but we also see in the Bible that children are killed too. So I don't take morality tips from a book that teaches a father how to kill their children. I think that was Abraham. And I'm done being part of a religion that requires you to do the same thing over and over. They don't want you to have critical thinking. They don't want you to challenge anything. Especially if you're a woman. I don't want to be a part of a religion or an institution that views women speaking as an egregious sin or a symptom of moral decay. Women deserve better. Women deserve to be in an institution, if they so choose, that values them just as much as they do a man. Not because they can have kids, not because they serve, but because they are valuable human beings with inherent rights, privileges, and positive expectations. A woman should be as valued being a single, child-free woman as she is a married woman with 7 children. That's not how Christianity treats women. Some people might make the case that Jesus was better to women than his own followers. That's probably true. It's still not an excuse. Enmeshment is removal of boundaries, privacy. My family did not believe privacy was a right. Everyone deserves privacy. Everybody deserves dignity. Even if you are in a prison cell, you still have rights and privileges. Code of conduct, professionalism. Unfortunately, when you're in these kind of high control institutions, they see you for what they can get from you, not what they can help you with. That's why I saw a bumper sticker on a car a few weeks ago that said, "The church is more interested in your wallet than giving you formula when you call their church." I think someone actually did a social experiment a few months ago about that. And interesting fact, the Muslim mosques were the most likely to give single mothers, nourishment for kids, not Christian churches. If we spend our time not judging people and actually helping, assisting, and giving resources to people, we'd all be in a better society. What's done is done. You can't fix what's done. If people, get pregnant, which is never a bad thing. I mean, it can be uncomfortable, it can change your plans, but we should never treat a pregnancy like it's the worst thing to happen to somebody. It's a natural part of life that not everyone wants. I've been in churches that shame single women for getting pregnant. We shouldn't shame people for natural bodily development. But they will. Enmeshment is important because if everyone has the same views, the same political stances, the same beliefs, there's very little challenging going on. I like to be around people that challenge my way of life, challenge my beliefs, my stances, my education. I like challenges. I don't want to be around people. I mean, I don't mind being around people that are just like me, but I like to grow as a person. It's hard to grow as a person when the only people you're around are just like you. I like to be around lots of people. I want to be challenged by people of different nationalities, ethnicities, beliefs, backgrounds, philosophies, politics. I got a lot of that living in Los Angeles. You meet all kinds of people from every country from the globe, and not so much in Alaska, but location, I guess. I think at the end of the day, people in religion want to be around people just like them because they don't like to be threatened, challenged, or pushed out of their comfort zone. Life isn't about living in your comfort zone. Life is about getting out of your comfort zone. Having life experience. But when you're so tied emotionally, physically, financially, in every way possible, when you are so tied to a family, an institution, a religion, that you become their own identity, it can be extremely dangerous. I mean, it has killed people. If you've ever heard of Waco, Jonestown, Heaven's Gate, etc., it can actually kill you. Conformity kills. Conformity is why 1 out of 5 young people suffer from suicide or trying to act out suicide. Conformity is a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to fit in, as long as it does not compromise who you are as a person. If what you're trying to join doesn't make you a better person and give you a better advantage going in the direction you want to go in, it's better not to conform or be in that environment. That's why they call it peer pressure. I don't like being a part of groups. I don't like labels. I mean, I use labels sometimes, but it's not something I rely on. People are not labels. People are people. Enmeshment in families is very insidious because they set it up to conformity is what's expected of you as a woman, as a man, but especially a woman. Women are taught their role is to be under, to submit, to work, and to be infantilized. I think we all deserve better. Women deserve better, men deserve better. Everyone deserves better. We need to get rid of gender roles, gender expectations. It's holding us back. I always wonder, like the printing press, if religion had not held back the times, how much further developed of a society would we be in? Religion is the reason why we didn't have the printing press for for so many centuries, even though the Chinese had so much more advancements than we did. If religion didn't execute people for trying to write books about gravity and how the world worked, like Galileo, he spent the second portion of his life under house arrest because the Catholic Church threatened to kill him for disagreeing with the religion. We would be such a much more developed, happier, free, thriving society in all ways if we just get rid of religion entirely. I think Christopher Hitchens said it best. When you get rid of God, when you get rid of religion, life is more worth living, in his opinion. He's not wrong. I'm not saying having religion or a belief system is wrong. I'm saying life is better and more worth living when you don't have to adhere to patriarchal expectations. If your belief system doesn't push you into boxes, gender norms, and it's a belief system that makes you the best version of yourself without forcing you to conform, I don't have a problem with it. Nobody who pursues knowledge would have a problem with it. I prefer life without God because it's just a life more worth living. I'm not pushed into a box of I have to do this because I'm a woman and I can't do that because I'm a godly woman. People can call something godly all they want. I'm seeing slavery in chains. Our society would be so much further down the road if we had just thrown away religion. We would have had fewer wars. We would have developed countries and continents centuries before we did. If it wasn't for the Dark Ages and religious ignorance, our country might have been discovered and founded 500 years before it was. Religious persecution is really the only reason why our country started having Europeans come over here to begin with. And ironically, they are the ones that started persecuting other people once they got here. It's interesting to take history classes and learn about the real things that happened. I was taught when I was young that Puritans were very morally absolute, but in the last year or so, I've taken history classes. Puritans were not boring people. They were not as moral as you think they were. When you're taught a whitewashed version of history by the people who did the worst, most egregious things in world history, how accurate is your history lesson anyways? If history is written by the victors, how can we rely on it to begin with? At least now we have people of all backgrounds, nationalities, religions writing textbooks, so we have a more well-rounded view. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if people want to believe that our country was founded on Christianity, they only believe that because it serves their agenda. If our country was founded on Muslim or Hindu beliefs, they would never quote it. They only say those things because it works in their favor. That's why Christians only use scientific and medical statistics when it works in their favor. While science quotes science regardless of their agenda. real scientists follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it's to an uncomfortable place. So far, science has not led to God, but my parents will die on the hill thinking it does. If something hasn't been proven, it's not a fact, it's a theory. That's why they call it the theory of relativity, the theory of evolution. Maybe someday we can prove all of these things, but until it's proven, it's not a fact. God is not a fact. It's a theory. We do not know if God exists, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I'm pretty sure pixies and Peter Pan doesn't exist. I'm very sure Santa Claus doesn't exist in the way he is on Christmas packages. Jesus may have been a real human being, but I'm 99.999% sure he was not anything beyond a regular human being. Because we live in a normal world. There's nothing supernatural in this world. Superman doesn't exist. And this is a very physical world we live in. There's no room for any god, goddess, or anything in between. I would rather not have all the answers and be open to finding out many of them along my life than living a life where I have all the false answers and I have a false security. Christians don't want to live in a reality where they don't have all the answers. That's what religion is. They didn't know how the world worked or why the sun went down, so they had to create myths, stories, and reasons for why we have winter. I'm sure all of us have heard the story of Persephone. The Greeks didn't know why there was winter, so they created a story. Hence why pomegranates are very popular in Greek art. We don't have to have all the answers. And if someone says they know what happens after death, they're a liar, and they're trying to sell you something. Nothing happens after death. Once you're dead, you're dead. The meaning of life is what you do during the time you're alive. Some people have longer than others, but that's life. Enmeshment doesn't allow people to have differences of opinion. It's kind of like they're breathing their own air. It's like a vacuum. They don't allow, appreciate, or view differences of opinion or contradictions, or they internalize everything as a threat. This is why I don't like religion. I believe it's a mistake to live life thinking that everything but the tiny little thing I believe is a threat to my soul. It's a sad way to live because you're missing out on so many good things. I'm so glad that I don't view every movie I put on as an instrument of Satan luring me to the depths of Hades. I view things for what they are: entertainment, education, and something interesting to do. I don't worry about my soul because I don't believe we have one. I really don't. I don't believe in the supernatural. There's no evidence to say there's anything supernatural or anything going on. We believe so hard in God, we call weather patterns acts of God because we think God exists. Can you imagine somebody naming it an act of Zeus with a straight face? God doesn't exist. He doesn't. Because if God exists, he would not allow Trump to be president. It would be an affront to everything Jesus is said to stand for. There is no way in hell Jesus would want Trump anywhere near power. Just because something good happens every once in a while doesn't mean that proves God exists. It means for some reason the universe lets us have a good day. I'm done having stupid conversations with people that says that something that could happen to anyone and that they didn't die from it is God intervened. And yet he didn't intervene the other 1,000 times. There's no way a supernatural being would talk to anybody on this planet. So when people say, oh, God spoke to me, I know they're full of bullshit. No way would an all-powerful person choose a nobody. Nobody in my family is interesting enough that God would even waste his time sharing some secret knowledge with. That's not to say my family isn't important. There's just no way that my mom had 1,500 words from God her entire life. She heard what she wanted to hear, and we call that narcissism. It is what it is. Nobody hears from anything because it doesn't exist. Religion has a mental health problem. If anybody else said the outrageous things Christians say, even people in my family, we would think they were insane. If any other religion said that somebody rose from the dead, we would think they were crazy. The end time stories, the Noah's Ark, if any other religion or cult believed those things, we would think they were crazy. But religion gets a free pass. It really doesn't. I don't make fun of people for being religious. Now, if someone says something utter asinine, I will laugh. And if they have a problem with it, then don't say stupid things. But the kind of things I've heard from the mouth of Christians is utter insanity. In Enmeshment, you think it's normal. You actually believe that what you see, what you read is completely normal. It is not normal. It is not normal to believe most of what's in the Bible. It goes against logic. And when your religion doesn't allow you as a woman to speak, let alone have critical thinking, it's a little scary. My family does not believe in therapy. They don't believe people should want to go to therapy. They believe therapy is something that's going to lure you away from God. And it's sad because you only have one chance to live in this life. You get one life to live. I think that's a soap opera. You don't get second chances. Once life passes you by, once you make certain decisions that dictate who you marry, how many kids you have, it can take half your life to fix mistakes because you didn't think it through or didn't want to. I know a lot of people who got married and thought they were happy